says I better get used to the caddies.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to At the Elephants, episode 10. I'm your host, Rob Morris. Got a pretty great interview to share with you today, if you're in for it. Timeline, as far as when I recorded this, I sat down with Rob Lutfi in July as we were finishing teaching summer session together. It is now the beginning of September that I'm laying this down now, so we just finished pickle stock and all that fun stuff. Kids are back to school. You know how it goes. Let me also clarify that I say Rob Lutfi. It says on all the promo stuff Robbie Lutfi. The guy's name's Robbie to me. When he was going to school here and we were here at the same time, he was Robbie. But here's the other thing. My name is Robbie. That's like my real name. Like Robbie, Robbie, birth certificate name comes from my dad, Robbie, right? But I go by Rob. This dude's name is Robert. He goes by Robbie with a Y a lot of the time. And then, now he's Rob. So I'm keeping it Robbie with a Y because that's the farthest thing away from my name that I can imagine out of the equation. So that's who he's going to be. He's Robbie Lutfi when he's on this show, and he can be Rob Lutfi out in San Diego or wherever he is. Speaking of which, he's out in San Diego, which you'll hear about in the interview. But, you don't want to hear me blabber on about what's going on right now. I thought about that, and I'll say that real quick. I used to think that this would be a good place for me to talk about current events and things going on with the school, but, the more I thought about it, so much of this show is listened to way after I make it. So, I'm not going to bother with that. It's all good. Don't worry about it. I'm not going to waste your time with a bunch of chitter-chatter from me. From all of the conversations that I've had with people about this show, they just want to hear the interview. I don't have musical guests for you right now. I'm hoping to have them later. I'm hoping to have a lot of stuff for you this season. So, stay strapped in. I have some updates for you soon. And in the meantime, enjoy listening to Robbie Lutfi and I have a conversation. So where are you from?
I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Nice. How'd you end up here?
You
did high school.
I did the high school program with Bob Moyer, and I had two friends that went here for high school, and they kind of shepherded me in, told me I had to go if I was interested in this, and then I went the first day. I walk into 226 Moore Hall, and Robati is sitting in my room playing a guitar with his shirt off.
What an introduction.
I know. And we became
so
instant
jealous.
friends.
Of course.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people that have a story about meeting him that aren't like, and we instantly got along. Like
I know, right?
He's amazing.
Yeah, he definitely is.
So you were roommates?
We were roommates. And been close ever since. Great collaborators.
But you didn't go straight to the college program here.
No, I did not. I thought I wanted to be an actor, and I left. I went to DePaul in Chicago.
Did you apply for the college program right out of high school?
I did.
But you didn't get in?
Did not get in. It was good. In the long run, it was for the best.
Right.
I was young. I was really young. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted a life in the arts. And I thought it was acting. And then when I was in Chicago, I started to realize more and more that it was probably something else. I didn't quite know what it was, but I knew it was something else. And I had a visual art background before I found theater.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to be a painter, and...
What kind of painting did you do, man?
I would just sketch. But I loved looking at paintings. Sort of obsessively. I remember my dad, we went on a vacation in 7th grade to visit a good friend of mine who's still a mentor in my life, who was going to RISD in Providence, Rhode Island. But on the trip, we went up to Boston to go to Museum of Fine Art, and I remember taking my dad around and just like showing him all these paintings. Oh, there's the new Sargent. I mean, not the new Sargent. There's a Sargent painting I have to see. And then I remember, this is going to sound cliche. I remember taking my dad to this painting by Paul Gauguin. And it was this huge painting called Where Do We Come From? What Are We? Where Are We Going? And there was something about like 7th grade Robbie looking at it with my dad and thinking about this artist who's long dead, who's grappling with these huge, grandiose ideas on a canvas. And I could see his brushstrokes. And there's something about like I could see his brushstrokes that was so cool to me as a kid. And I knew I wanted to be involved in whatever that expression was, you know. It wasn't overly intellectual. It was something, an expression of the heart that he was grappling with, and there's something about that I loved. I only say that to say that when I found directing, it was a culmination of all those things. You know, I knew that I wanted to be a storyteller. I knew that my medium probably wasn't the visual arts, but it was in theater.
So do you feel like you get to engage in that now, of like leaving your brushstrokes behind? Because our work is pretty ephemeral.
Yeah, you're totally right, and that's the kind of beauty of it. I remember crying after we closed Our Country Is Good at NCSA.
Yeah.
Because of how much I loved that class. That was
I was at that show.
Really?
I was at the final show of that, and I was a mess. Because that
Yeah.
was the first class that I really saw graduate. I saw the class before that graduate as soon as I got there, 08. But 09 was the first like class I knew for a whole year. And they were like the first seniors I knew, basically. That's like the role that class was for me. And I got to know about half of them. But like a lot of the ones I knew were in that play. And so, yeah.
There was something about John Langs, too.
Yeah.
That he was the first director I assisted that I went, oh, I can do this. Like, this is a guy I can model craft after. And it was after that I saw Gerald, and I was really upset about closing that show. And he said the same thing. He's like, he took me aside and he said, theater only exists in your heart. And that's what's amazing about theater, is that we carry it with us. Yeah. Wise man.
Yeah, if he had better advice, I'd be doing better in my life, because, yeah, that's good. That's a good one. And it's interesting how, I guess, from what I'm hearing, you've transitioned from, like, the fascination of leaving something behind with, like, the great cathartic experience of releasing things when they're done. I think that takes a lot of strength, not just to compliment you, but like thinking of that as a concept, you know, because I think that's, I don't know, I remember feeling that way as a young person, like, not to say I'm not, but when I was younger, of like, I want to leave something behind so badly. Like, as soon as I was a teenager, it was like, I want to affect things so that when I'm dead, if I don't make it to such and such age, it'll have mattered that I was here. That was very important to me as a teenager. And I definitely don't really feel that way anymore. I mean, I do feel like I want to use my time wisely, and all those notions are still there. But, like, if I'm remembered, like, because now my consciousness is considering the fact that humanity is, like, this blink of an eye thing and this huge system of whatever, and like none of us are making it, you know. That's how I think about it now. Like, none of us are leaving an impression on anything. It's like in a few billion years we'll be like that thing that happened on that green rock. Like, that's whatever. Which doesn't say that I don't like live life with purpose or anything, but you know, to an extent it is like we're renting everything we have, we own nothing, like that kind of thing is very
So you
much
feel
part
like the
of it.
older you get, the more you realize how temporal life is and how small you are.
Yeah, and I think it has to do with observation of death. You know, like some people encounter it more than others, but like I'm just known a lot of people who've died that all of a sudden weren't there anymore, young and old, mostly surprises, and it's just like, yeah, I just I can't help but feel like that's what life is telling me all the time is like, dude, like keep in mind, it could go
Yeah.
anytime. So like enjoy what you're doing, don't waste your time, like. But also, it's not just about. I think another way you could take that is like, oh well, then I just want to party all the time, but I don't. That's not how it feels to me. I don't take that away from it of like, oh well, then nothing matters. I'm just gonna live with reckless abandon. It's like, no, there's just not. You just never know when it could be over. So make sure that if you died tomorrow, that like you're like, yeah, life, nice. Did this from here to here, and I don't know.
I was reading about, for my kids I'm teaching, I sent them this article that Anne Bogart wrote. It was a keynote speech, and Les Waters introduced her. I'm not quite sure where it was, but the article is called Storytelling in the 21st Century, or the Role of Storytelling. And she talks about the dead and how her loved ones that have passed in her life, and how telling stories is a way to, like, give voice to the dead.
Yeah.
By creating an empathy bridge, she calls it. And I just love that term, like creating an empathy bridge between artists and an audience.
Right.
I tell a story that creates empathy. We connect.
Yeah.
Which I think is beautiful. She also says storytelling is an act of heroism, which I think is a beautiful way to describe it.
Yeah, no, I like that too. I mean, I can't help but respect the power of it. I think once you've been affected by a story, like how can you stay ignorant to the power of storytelling in general? Like, obviously it has to be told the right way to the right person to make the right impact, and all that equation has to add up, and that's why we tell stories to groups of people most of the time. But, I think you have to recognize the power of that, for sure.
Did you exaggerate as a kid?
What do you mean?
Like when you told stories, did you ever exaggerate your own story?
I tried really hard not to lie.
Huh.
But I did definitely try to, like, dramatize anything
Right.
that I was... Yeah, if I was telling a story, I wanted it to be worth... Because I noticed that as a kid, you have to work twice as hard to captivate an adult's attention. And that was a very important thing to me as a child. I was the kid who wanted to be a grown-up from the time I was born. Like, I resented the fact that I had to be a child. Because it was like, there was information I wasn't allowed to have. People made decisions for me. And as a very young child, I felt like that wasn't fair. Like, I felt like a human being like everybody else from a very young age. But at the same time, I guess I also respected the notion of, like, adults get to do certain things for a reason. Like, there was, like, a series of behaviors I thought you eventually earned, which I guess is true. But it was, like, smoking cigarettes. Like, both of my parents smoke cigarettes. They still do. I thought everybody did.
Right.
Like, I thought all adults eventually smoked cigarettes and occasionally had alcohol. Because that was the environment in my house. Cigarettes all the time, and maybe alcohol 3 or 4 times a week at the end of a long day a little bit. Like, like that's just what they did. And so I assumed that was everybody. And then I come to find out, like, some people don't drink at all. And some people don't smoke at all either. And some people don't, do these behaviors that I witnessed, because also my parents would hang out with people who did the same stuff. So it's like all my friends' parents smoked cigarettes and drank, like, on the weekends, and, like, had, like, barbecues for the Cowboy game, and, like, drank a bunch of beer all day. And, like, that's just, like, what is down in Texas, and it was totally reasonable, and not in a, like, bad way. But yeah, I just assumed that, I think everybody assumes that their parents are the median, at least.
Right.
Like, there may be some crazier, there may be some less crazy, but my parents are the middle ground.
Right.
But most people's parents are somewhere on the spectrum. Like, the chance of that is so much less.
Pause. Are you a Cowboys fan?
No.
Okay, good.
No, I've never really had any strong feelings about the NFL.
Right.
I like some baseball teams.
You do?
Yeah.
What's your baseball team?
I like the Yankees, and I like the Rangers.
Yeah.
But that's just because I lived in those two places.
Right. Baseball's a great sport to go to. Just
I'm
drink a beer, be outside.
Yeah,
with people.
I'm a big fan. My dad hates it.
Really?
Yeah, my dad hates baseball. He thinks it's really slow.
Well, that's what makes it amazing to go to, because there's these lulls where you can have a conversation,
Right.
but then go back to it. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a social thing. It's a great social thing. I used to go to minor league hockey games when I was a kid, and I really liked that.
Yeah.
There was in Austin for years, and I don't think they're there anymore. Maybe they are. I'm not really sure. But for years, there was this team, the Ice Bats, and man, we would go to Ice Bats games all the time. I don't think we had season passes at one point, or my friends did, or something like that. And we went for a couple of years. I was going all the time. And you know what? I don't think I ever learned a single player's name.
Mm-hmm.
The whole time. I didn't care about that. I just wanted to watch the player. And I didn't even remember, oh, that's the guy from earlier in the game. I just wasn't that conscious of it. Because my friends and I would go, and we would, talk and, hang out. And it was, this social thing. We'd run around and, go get a toy thing and play with it. Or, go get food. And, it was this whole thing. And then you would go watch the game. And they would just, go back and forth. And then sometimes beat each other up. And it was, super cool.
Right.
But I never learned a number or learned a statistic or a player's name, or I just didn't care about that. I wasn't dedicated to the team. I was dedicated to the experience of going to a hockey game. And that's how I kind of feel about baseball too.
Yeah.
It's I know who the Yankees are for the most part, but I'm usually a couple years behind recognizing a trade.
Right.
I'm oh right, that guy's not there
A-Rod.
anymore. Yeah.
Right.
Oh wow. Well, and I appreciate A-Rod too because he played for both my teams.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I'm jealous of sporting events. I love sports.
Right.
But I'm also jealous because that kind of crowd you'd never see. Imagine if that kind of crowd went to
The theater.
a Noel Coward play or
Right.
something. It's it just doesn't exist. I'm
Right.
so jealous of it, though,
Right.
And in some, I love sitting in a dark room and watching a play and then going and having a great conversation over drinks afterwards. I love it.
Sure.
A lot of people don't.
Right.
A lot of people need a beer and they need to talk. They need breaks.
Right.
And sometimes,
My dad walked out of the first play I ever directed.
Really?
Because it was too damn long. And to be fair, Robbie, it was too damn long.
what play was it?
But The Last Days of Judas Iscariot.
Oh, well, that's a great play.
It is, but it was 3 hours when I
Right.
did it. It is not a short play. It is long monologues. But
Yeah.
I was new and I didn't know how to tell I had 14 actors of all ages.
Yeah.
They were all age appropriate. I didn't have a bunch of 20-year-olds. I had people that were 60 and 50 and I was 21, 22. And so I was nervous to tell everybody to hurry up. And I just didn't really notice it. And we had an intermission and I thought, whatever. But he just couldn't handle it because it's just not my dad's thing. It's really
Right.
hard for him to get through theater. He finds it all theater for the most part. He's not seen a lot of good theater though, which is not his fault. Because I didn't do good theater in the beginning.
Yeah.
Most people I've ever met in my life
Oh, yeah.
who do it. Some people just need a different environment for a social evening.
And no matter what bar you walk into in America, there's always one thing that can connect you to someone there, and it's sports. You could always talk about sports,
Right.
no matter where you are. I can't tell them I do this really eccentric job. They'd look at
Right.
me like, what the? You get paid to do what?
Yeah.
That exists a lot of places. But I don't know. Obviously, people have been trying to figure out how do you get blue-collar people to come to plays.
Right.
How do you get that to
I don't
happen?
even know how to have a conversation with people on airplanes half the time because they say what do you do? And I say for a while it was I'm a director, and right now I say I'm a teacher because it's a way easier thing to say.
Right.
But people say oh, you make movies immediately,
Right.
And you're no, I direct theater, and they're so musicals? And you're sometimes, but
Right.
no, mostly plays. And they're oh, almost that's a thing.
Uh-huh.
It's a fucking course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are more than, well, no, there's not a lot of us, but the point is that it's totally a thing, and not a weird unsuccessful profession, which is kind of the impression that and I shouldn't give a shit, And I'm not shameful about it, but it is hard when like you explain to somebody like what you do and you're like, no, this is like I have a good job that I like kind of worked hard to get, and it's not totally
Oh yeah,
accessible
you need to
to
be super
everybody.
resilient.
Yeah, it's you know, I'm doing all right in a very difficult profession, but they have no concept of that. Most people that you talk to anyway that I've run into on an airplane.
I remember I was rehearsing a play for the New York Fringe Festival, and the playwright had gone to the New School, so we were in one of their studios, which is right by the Labyrinth Theater.
Right.
And Philip Seymour Hoffman was using these studios.
No
and
way.
he walked into my rehearsal, and the only interaction I ever had with Philip Seymour Hoffman was him walking into my rehearsal and going, shit, and closing the door. Because he was the wrong room.
Right. Yeah, that's where I think most of when it says in the front of the plays, I think that's the
The lab.
space where they work at.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's where he did that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's not a bad story.
No. What a great actor.
Yeah.
My two favorite actors, really, Philip Seymour Hoffman and Robin Williams.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a rough time.
Yeah.
A very emotional days, both of those.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first, and it hit me so weird. I told my dad about this recently. He was like, "Really?" He was very skeptical. He was like, "I just find it so hard to believe." And I told him that the first celebrity death that really moved me, the first one that really like broke my heart, but I wasn't really at a place emotionally old enough to like cry or anything, was Chris Farley.
Oh, wow.
Because I was a fat kid, and like a fat funny kid, and he was my hero on a huge level. Like, I liked Jim Carrey as a kid. I loved Robin Williams as a kid, but Chris Farley felt like my hope to be somebody, because he was big, and so and had a lot of energy, and he made up for the fact that he was big by not being slowed down by it. That was because of something I didn't understand,
Right.
but that's what I saw, and so that's what I thought, was so inspiring for me. And that hit me hard. But the first one that really got me, that really, I wept because I thought I'll never get to see him in any capacity, was George Carlin. And he wasn't even young.
Yeah.
But when he died, because he had just shot, a new special, or had just been on tour. He had just worked, a couple weeks before it happened. He was still working. And so I was really expecting to be able to see him at some point. And it was at a point in my life where I was like, I'm the next chance I get, I'm going to see him. I just turned 19, so I was just able to go do stuff like that. And I was like, I'm gonna go see George Carlin, and then he died, and it was like, damn it.
Wow.
It just hit me, and it, it was definitely came from a selfish place of I wanted to see him so bad.
Yeah.
But it was just I didn't know that had never happened to the capacity of oh no, they're gone.
I haven't thought about this in a while, but I think I was devastated when Princess Diana died.
Really?
I think because it was so public.
Yeah, I remember.
And they played her funeral over and over and over again on television.
And that
remember
Elton John
watching it,
song was on the radio
and the
every
Elton John
single day.
song. And also, my mother's name is Diane, so
Well, there you go.
she had a connection with her, I think, and so maybe that was part of it as well. I'm the same way about Peter Brook. Peter Brook was his books have been such an influence on my work that I know he's old, and I feel like it would be a shame if I don't just get to meet him one day before he goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have, because before, it's interesting how this business makes you feel no, I could go meet these people eventually.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Once.
There's hope.
Yeah, it more so than people oh yeah, that would be crazy. It's not no, I'd really like to get in the room with this person before they're dead and actually shake their hand once and maybe even tell them hey, for what it's worth, you changed my life and inspired me.
Yeah.
Jon Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
I tried.
Really?
Well, because I went to the show. I went to
Right.
the Daily Show, and I was in the VIP section, but it was John Oliver's third
Right.
show, so he didn't even do a lot of crowd work before at all, because he was working on trying to get the show right and not screw it up, and he was a little nervous, and justifiably so.
Yeah.
But so it was a different experience, but I did everything I could to try to be there, and now he's leaving, but so I got to figure something else out.
Why do you think there's no conservative Jon Stewart?
What do you mean? Why there's no
conservative
like
funny person.
conservative comedy news.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what do you think, Robbie? I don't think they have a sense of humor about themselves like that.
There's got to be some conservative who does.
I mean, probably. I don't know. You know what? To tell you the truth, I think that the Fox News has a large number of their like pundits and different people who are on their network who think they're funny, and other people think they're funny too, and I don't think we think they're funny.
No.
But they're also not like, comedy is always going to lean to the left in general as an industry, as a business, because so does theater, because so does entertainment. Like, it's just how it is. And to tell you my opinion on it, I think it's because all of those mediums lean towards the truth. And they look at things as like, look, let's not deny the truth of the situation. It's this and that. And I think the current like conservative America is kind of all about denial of truth and denial of just the raw hilarity of how some things are ridiculous. It's a very serious thing. It's like they're, all that culture clings to that.
Because they don't laugh at themselves. Like, you never see Lindsey Graham or Ted Cruz laughing at themselves.
Right, and when they do, it's laughable because they're doing it in spite of it, or exactly. It's something. It's also because their views are so extreme to this other side. I think maybe that.
But don't
they
you
can't
think
afford
that
to.
the left we become so polarized? Don't you think we become extreme too in a way?
No, of
I mean, I'm
course.
totally happy with it, but
No, of course.
I
I think that's part of it too. I think. Go ahead.
No, I remember at NCSA, I remember seeing this poster when I was at school here, and it was about the Conservative Artist Club or something on campus, and someone had graffiti the top of it and said, "Conservative art is not art." And I just thought that was interesting. I'm like, I just really think about it. Like, is that true? Is that, well, maybe you do. I mean, can you create, what does that mean, conservative art? Because art by nature
Is exploratory.
is exploring, is deconstructing, is pushing the form, is,
Right.
But I guess you're looking at those words and you're defining them a little bit differently than.
Yeah, I guess so, but it's still like the notion of being conservative is
Safe. Right.
It's safe and it's doing the right thing, and it's
Is that what it means I don't think politics, conservative means, that word means something else though, right?
I mean, I don't know.
I don't think of them as safe, and
I think that they're safe behind their ideals, and that's what they think.
interesting.
I don't think it's true. I don't think they are safe, but I think that like, it's the conservative side now. The conservative right in America is all, it seems to be, to me, focused on conserving these traditional values. That's how they label it, which to me is archaic language for saying that we don't want to change. We don't want to adjust, And then fiscally, the other big side of it, the economic notion, the social notion of like, personal liberty, and they're worried that the government's going to take over, and they're worried that they're becoming enslaved by their government. And I think that's, I don't know what that's based on. And the arguments I hear, like, they want to take our guns away, just like Hitler did before he took over the country. And like, does our social and political situation really reflect a fascist regime right now? Because it doesn't feel that way to me, and I've never felt that way to me my entire life. Not even under Bush, certainly not under Clinton. Man, that was like a party. I remember being a kid and just watching the news, and they were like, there was some rough things that happening, but mostly things are good. We got money, business is growing. We got the number one ball. That felt like a great time, and then we had that time when it was like, oh wow, this is great, and then all of a sudden it got really dark for a really long time, and now it's feeling like we're on the road to something good again. But there's just all this resistance. There's all this resistance of like, no, let's not make social progress. Let's not take care of our people and let's make sure rich people stay rich and make sure that being poor is as hard as possible. You know, I don't get it. I just don't. It's something that's difficult for me to understand. So you're living in San Diego, right? Are you moving?
I'm moving to San Diego. Yeah,
When do you get there?
July 25th.
What you doing?
What am I doing when I get there?
Yeah.
I'm going to see the opening of Dogfight, that the artistic director Sean Murray directed, and
Nice.
Alex Heffler and Pat Osteen are in.
Right.
And then I'll start work.
Yeah.
The
Are you
day to
working
day.
at the Signet?
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Yeah, I took a full-time job as their associate artistic director,
That's awesome, dude.
direct plays and
You know, direct plays and shit.
yeah, direct. Well, that's the incentive for me, was that what they offered was not just a salaried desk job,
Right.
but they also offered me a creative outlet. I could still direct plays. And what's amazing about being in one place is that I get to have a continued dialogue with that community, which is important to me. Because when you're just a hired gun, it's like right when you get used to a town, right when you get to start having these connections where you're having great conversations, you leave.
Right.
And you don't really get to be a part of those conversations
Right.
anymore.
And you're very much interested in being a part of a community.
Yeah, for now, yeah,
Right.
totally. I am. I want to explore what that is.
Yeah, for sure. I think you got to do that from time to time. You got to start putting down some roots in at least a
Yeah.
couple places.
But I never thought that would happen at my age. I mean, like,
Really?
I thought eventually I'd be like, settle down, have the job. I thought I'd be
How old are you?
29. But I lie about my age so much.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
do you
Sometimes I
say?
like forget who I told what to. Because if I direct, when I was directing plays in my mid-20s, I would always lie up. Always lie up. Say I'm in my 30s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did it work?
I would get more respect. When you say, oh, I'm in my 30s, you get more respect from people you're directing that are in their 50s.
Consider lying about my age. Maybe I should start doing that.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's residual from what we were talking about earlier about, like, exaggerating growing up.
Right.
Making the story more interesting.
Right. Or whatever you need it to be to get where you need to go.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I've always kind of felt that way, I guess. Because I did a lot of that when I was growing up. I didn't want to exaggerate stories, but I lied about my identity constantly. Like where I was from and my background.
Did you travel a lot? I find people that travel a lot
Yeah.
always say, like, each place they move new, they create a new narrative for their lives.
I did that a lot, yeah. Yeah, I moved constantly, and it was always like whoever I thought that community would embrace.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
the idea. It was like, oh, you'll like me if I'm this. Like, when I first moved to New York in high school, I told people I was like Italian. I'm not at all. But I just thought
You
that
can
I
fit
could
in.
have some identity. Like, what identity do you have in a New York public high school as someone from Texas?
Right.
I didn't want to be that guy, you
Yeah.
know? And I couldn't not be from Texas, but I could be something else, Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how you're like, because you have to cling to something, you have to find some sort of connection to where you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
You
rem-
still do it?
Do I still what?
Lie about how old you are?
I try not to as much anymore. No. No. I do. I know what you're talking about. This thing, like, what do you identify? I identify myself as a guy from the South. I mean,
Right.
if I'm identifying as anything. But I directed a play that was about Lebanese immigrants. And on my father's side, my great-grandparents were Lebanese. And my last name is Lutfi. It's a Lebanese name. And I found that the way I started talking about the play, I would mention, and my great-grandparents were Lebanese, and they would always want to pitch the story to go that way. Oh, well, this is you connecting to your heritage. And I was like, no, I didn't even realize that until I was in high school. I don't identify as Lebanese whatsoever.
Right.
At all. But it's interesting that as an American, you try and cling to. For some reason, it's more exotic to say, "Oh, I'm
Right.
a quarter French or
Whatever.
whatever."
Yeah,
Like I know I'm an American. When do you get to say like these number of generations have lived here, and I am now an American?
Well, and
you know?
when you spend your time, I think when you spend your time in California or on the like Northeast coast, you don't want to say you're from the South.
Oh yeah.
I don't necessarily, and people from there don't even understand that that Texas isn't even really like the South,
Right.
and Austin is unlike anything they think it may be
Right.
because it's in Texas. Like, it's like its own little weird island of like it's not really the South, it's not really the Southwest, it's
Yeah.
not really Texas, it's Austin. It's like
Yeah.
and that's where I grew up. So, but people don't get that at all if they've never been there or spent any time there. So
It's easy to label
it's
and make
easy
assumptions.
to it's easy to like put a different label on yourself because you want to convey who you are and not what their idea of you is going to be based on other people they've met from the same place or misconceptions they have about it. It's better to just, I don't know,
Yeah.
slap something else over the name tag, you know?
Oh, you're from the South. You don't really have an accent.
Right, exactly.
Or-
It's like, yeah.
Aren't you from the Bible Belt, Tobacco Road? Or you don't. I hear you say y'all sometimes. Y'all is
Right.
just such a good phrase.
Yeah, it's all right.
You don't like y'all?
I don't say it as much.
Huh.
I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I like you guys.
Use guys.
Use guys.
Yeah.
That one's good too. But not enough. I don't have enough of that.
Huh.
No, you guys. Well, thanks for talking to me, man.
Yeah, dude.
It was a lot of fun.
Do we talk about interesting things?
I think so.
It was
Death
certainly
and stuff.
cool. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, don't worry about it.
So I've been reading about nameless things. Don't ask me what they are. Nietzsche does.